Hey guys, it's That Guy 276. I've got a little bit of a sore throat, but I've just finished watching Jobs' film, and this might sound like I'm a bit of a geek, but I've never had goosebumps from a film so many times in my life. A lot of people might think this is sad, I'm a geek, or whatever, but kind of Steve Jobs is my hero. Or my idol. I always try and, well, I know this is sounding gonna be a bit cornyish, but think differently. Every day. I don't know how for the past, right, about 15 years ago, I created the concept for Google Glass. It was just like a basic concept for sunglasses with like a little, just like Google Glass with a little on-screen display or something that you can just go and it'll come on there and it'll activate it, and like just as the Google Glass feature where you swipe down like that and then it activates it. Like nothing like voice activation. All you do is swipe. Well, all you do is like go around with a little mouse in your pocket, or you go around with a little say like a little scroll pad like on your finger against a little like scroll pad against your fingertips or something like that. Something that you can have a little bit of a control, such as like the red button that used to be in the middle of keyboards on laptops to like give you a little bit of a something like that. And that was about 15 years ago. I've created up a couple of concepts of Google, of Android sort of operating systems about 2 years ago, and they've actually implemented them into the recent software, which is 4.4 KitKat. Yeah, I might sound a bit of a nerd, but I've just it goes through his entire life from like not like starting up as a baby or anything like that. It gets to the main points, and some things might be wrong. There's loads of things that are actually wrong, but there's some things that are actually in the wrong place. The way he came up with the iPod, he was sat outside doing some work at Apple, and then he's listening to music with a CD player, and he presses the button to pause it because somebody comes over to him, and it doesn't work the first time, so he presses it again. He says "damn thing," so I was like, oh, it's a little Easter egg. There's loads of little references as well. With it's condensed it down. Like it starts from when he's going around, he's working at Atari. He tries to push the boundary of the Atari 2600, which was around at the time, and he tries to push that so it pushes colour, because he's playing Pong, and then he plays Asteroids, and he says people don't want black and white. We've had black and white for 3-4 years. We want colour in this game, and he says it's not possible. And then he starts getting mad, and he starts doing night times, and then he starts becoming friends with Steve Wozniak. And then as Steve Jobs gives him the money for the game that he's created at Atari at night time, he has a look. There's a computer on the table, and it displays whatever you're working on the screen. And the amount of motivation and the amount of wisdom that actually was in Steve Jobs when he first saw that. Like I've read 2 of his books, and I've read the Walter Isaacson book as well, which is the inside story, because Walter Isaacson for about 2 or 3 years was with Steve Jobs roughly every day on phone calls. I was going to say Google Hangouts then, just like video chatting or having walks, having across the beach or whatever. And they had talks about what he did today or going through his life. So that's like the actual inside story of Steve Jobs. And he was really persistent, and he wasn't afraid to push the boundaries. And every book that I've read of his, and the film as well, there's something known as Steve's social distortion field, and everybody that comes into contact with Steve seems to be different, and can't act themselves around Steve. And it doesn't mention Pixar, but as his time, when he gets pushed out by John Scully was the head of marketing at Pepsi, and then Steve went to dinner with John Scully to work out a new advertising campaign for the Macintosh in 1984, and you'll see why 1984 doesn't seem like 1984. And he comes in as the good guy, few months later, the Macintosh doesn't do well. It's supposed to sell a million Macintoshes, but it only struggles to sell 250,000. And then John Scully comes in and says, like, yeah, I'm going to become CEO. So Steve Jobs then goes on to create Next, which is capital, well, whatever. And he does that. And then it doesn't mention Pixar, but in between Steve Jobs getting fired from Apple and then going to and then going back to Apple, he creates the next company, and then he sees the wisdom of what Pixar can do, because Pixar were creating commercials for like Spearmint and Orangina and Tropica, and he must have saw the potential within Pixar, so they wanted to create full feature films, like such as Toy Story 2, Bugs Life, WALL-E, Brave, all of them, Ratatouille, Monsters Inc., everything. And there's just a lot of other things that with Steve Jobs, he is a bit of a prick, and I'll put that out there. He is a massive prick to everybody. If he's not going to gain something out of that person, he's going to fuck him off. He just doesn't give a crap unless he's actually getting something, because if there's no agenda, then there's no point of him being there. So, and then you've got I'm a bit disappointed as well, because after the final quotes of the actual film is here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the round pegs in the square holes, and the people who think they can change the world are the ones who do. And it finished on that, which is a nice end. But it didn't talk about the it didn't talk about the iPod, it didn't talk about the iPad, it didn't talk about the iPhone. At the beginning, he did come out on stage, walking down the steps, and he did reveal the iPod to the staff. I don't know if that actually happened, because I thought it was because he released it in WWD, well, the music event, but WWDC, and he released it to the world in that, but I didn't know he presented it to the staff as well. And that's about it, guys. So thanks for watching, and this is my first video in about a month, so I'm glad to get back in the game. Yeah. Right, see you next time. Bye.